6, 1 through 7. It says, "Now Jericho was tightly shut up because of the Israelites. No one went out and no one came in. Then the Lord said to Joshua, 'See, I have delivered Jericho into your hands, along with its king and its fighting men. March around the city once with all of the armed men. Do this for 6 days. Have 7 priests carry trumpets of ram's horns in front of the ark. On the 7th day, march around the city 7 times, with the priests blowing the trumpets. When you hear them sound a long blast on the trumpets, have all the people give a loud shout. Then the wall of the city will collapse, and the people will go up, every man straight in.' So Joshua, son of Nun, called the priests and said to them, 'Take up the ark of the covenant of the Lord, and have 7 priests carry trumpets in front of it.' And he ordered the people, 'Advance, march around the city with the armed guard going ahead of the ark of the Lord.'"
Gotta love the old vegetables. Alright. So, my name's Olivia, for those of you whom I don't know, and I'm a junior here. I study accounting, and I'm involved in Salt and Light and crew, and hopefully the women's Bible study. And then I also do band, and I'm involved in a lot. But anyways, that's just a little bit about me. So before we get started, would you all please bow your heads with me? Dear Lord, thank you so much for tonight and for each and every person that was able to make it. And I pray that you would just speak through me and that everyone would hear what's needed to be heard, and that you would be glorified through all of it, and you would not be of me. All right, so Jenna read us the story, well, a bit of the story from Joshua. They're supposed to march around Jericho and just yell on the 7th day, and then the walls are just going to come crashing down. So I want you to just put yourself in Joshua's shoes for just a second. And if you're him, how do you think you would have felt? Do you think you would have listened to God's direction or not? I mean, if an angel appeared to me and was like, "Hey, you should go do this tomorrow," I mean, I probably would listen, because they would be like, a messenger of God. I'd like to think that I would listen, but I really don't know. And sometimes it's hard to determine what God's way is, because we don't usually have an angel being like, "Hey, you should do this, you should do this." All right, so why is it so hard to figure out which ways God is calling you? Sometimes our selfishness and our pride, our human desires, they get in the way. And we put so much emphasis on material goods, and we value people's opinion probably way more than we should. All right, at least I do. So I want you to just take a minute and think about something that you value a lot. Would you give that up if God called you to do it? For me, my fault is valuing money way too much, which is probably why I'm accounting. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't think you should just go around like throwing money on the ground. If you do, I'll just follow you. But sometimes giving to those in need, or even tithing, becomes a task for me, and my heart is just no longer in the right place. And so my selfish desire of wanting money sometimes prevents me from hearing God's way. And that sensitivity that we're supposed to have to Him becomes a wall around our heart, and it taints the picture of God's plan. So His plan may not always be clear. If it were, we would just be robots walking around on earth. Everything would be perfect. We'd be perfect. Obviously, that's not how it is. It's pretty foggy most of the time. So let me give you an example. How many of you have changed your major from your freshman year to now? Really, that's it? Okay. Well, I changed my major. So I actually started out as a nursing major. I did 2 years of nursing, which I know is completely different from accounting. It's a long story, but I'll let you in on a little bit of it. So I had 1 semester of actual clinicals at Community South, and while I'm bathing a patient and taking their vitals, I'm just like, this is not for me. Like, I do not enjoy this. I can't see myself doing this. And so I was like, if I picture myself being 40 years old, what do I see myself doing? And it was not giving patients baths and taking their vitals. So I kind of started doubting what God had planned for me, and I was like, why did you call me to nursing if this isn't what I'm supposed to be doing? So I thought back to my freshman year, and I was trying to decide between nursing and accounting at that point. And I chose nursing because it seemed convenient, because you only work 3 or 4 days a week, and then you have the rest of the week off. Whereas with accounting, you're probably going to have long days, 5 days a week, right? Which I don't know why I thought nursing was convenient, because it's not. Anyways, encouragement to all you nursing majors. But plus, this might also sound a little silly, but everybody loves nurses. They're compassionate, they're kind, they're caring. No one really likes accountants. Sometimes we're pegged as like quiet, antisocial, very analytical, and I honestly didn't want to be pegged as that, because I valued so much what people thought about me. But after 2 years, I was just not comfortable where I was, and I began to grow more and more uncomfortable as the days went by. And then I realized one day during prayer and talking with my family, it didn't matter what other people thought of me. Instead, it mattered how I was going to fulfill my purpose here on earth that God had given me, no matter what my career was. In nursing, I just felt really stagnant. Like, I was always complaining, I was always stressed, and I wasn't enjoyable to be around, nor was I enjoyable myself. And because of that, I just couldn't show God's love very well. And I couldn't overflow with joy. And that's our purpose here on earth. It's to overflow so that others can see our fruit and be called to Christ through us. John 15:16 says, "You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you that you should go and bear fruit, and that your fruit should abide." We're all called to abide in Him. That's part of His plan for us. We're all called to bear fruit. All that to say, I switched majors, and I absolutely love accounting now. And I think I'm more myself now than I ever was. And that allows me to show Christ's love in a much less forced way, because I'm just myself, it's just me and God. But a lot of people ask me, don't you hate that you have to go a 5th year? Financially, yes. But for the most part, no. I love that I did 2 years in nursing. If I didn't, I wouldn't have met so many of the friends that I did, and it wouldn't have made me the person I am today. I also wouldn't have been able to go on a mission trip to Ecuador for 2 weeks with the School of Nursing. And that trip was just absolutely life-changing for me. Not so much while I was over there, because I was just expecting God to do so much while I was there, and then I was kind of let down. But when I came back, I realized what He had taught me through the whole thing, and I grew in my faith. So God really has a plan for our lives, even if it's not the quickest, most efficient route, which sometimes to me is super frustrating because I really like efficiency. But we have to remember Romans 8:28, which says, "And we know that for those who love God, all things work together for good, for those who are called according to His purpose." All that stuff that I went through the first 2 years of my college career really worked together for my good, and it made me who I am today. His way was best for me, it still is, And even though I couldn't see that at the beginning or while I was going through it, I look back now and I see that tapestry that we sometimes talk about where the back is really jumbled and knotted and doesn't make any sense. But then you look at the front of it and there's a beautiful picture. And the beautiful picture for me is just beginning, and it is for you too. However, some of us may be at that point in our lives where we feel like God's nowhere to be found. We have no idea where he's calling us, and there's no light at the end of the tunnel. I would encourage all of us to just have faith and hope that God does have a plan for our lives. One of my favorite verses, and I'm sure one that you've heard, Jeremiah 29:11, says, "For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future." And that verse is really, really awesome if you just break it down and think about it. And the first part says, "For I know the plans I have for you." That means you individually, not just us as a whole, not just us as a church. I mean, he does have plans for us as a church, but he has plans for you individually, really, and that's really, really awesome. And those plans are only to prosper us. They're not to harm us, and they are to give us hope and to give us a great future. But it's kind of hard to just accept that verse, be like, okay, cool, like I got it, I'll trust in you. That's not easy, okay? At least for me, it isn't. If it is for you, please tell me how you do it, okay? It's a huge leap of faith to just accept what Christ has called us to do. So I'm going to give us 3 things that maybe will help us kind of figure out where God is calling us. First of all, we have to spend time in prayer. I'm not talking 2 minutes before you go to bed, okay, which I'm super guilty of doing. But we have to spend time in consistent prayer, because you don't build a relationship with your best friend by spending 2 minutes with them every day. You spend consistent time with them. You learn from them, you listen to them, and you talk. It's a 2-way street, okay? So Christ hears every call, or every cry, every statement of gratitude. He hears it all. So we have to spend that time with him. We have to pray on our knees, whether that's physically or just mentally. We have to get to that point of desperation where all we want is Christ. And then when he answers us, we thank him. He's not a vending machine God. Please give me peace. Please give me this. Please give me this. No, we say thank you in return. Okay? We listen and we talk. Next, we have to get to a point of surrender. We have to give things up. We have to give up the little things. We have to give up the big things. And then we ultimately give our life to him. We have to give up pride, selfishness, money. And that's not always easy. But surrendering is giving something to God and trusting him that he will do something better with it than you ever could. Which trusting isn't easy, but who better to trust than the very one that created all of us? There's a verse that says, "He knit us together and he knew me even before I was born." He knows every hair on my head. He knows my thoughts. Why can't I trust him? There's a verse in Psalm 118 that says, "It's better to trust in the Lord than to put confidence in man." And I honestly had never heard this verse before until I started preparing for this. And that hit me really hard because I'm a very trusting person. I trust people a lot, and sometimes that's not always the greatest thing. However, if I trust people that much, why is it so hard for me to trust somebody who knows me even better than I know myself? So I just encourage you to really trust in Christ. Lastly, we have to become humble and broken in our self-will. We can't do anything on our own. We'd be nothing without Christ. And though some may see humility or brokenness as a weakness, it's not. It's not at all. And even if it was, God doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the called. God can do something with you, with me, with all of us, even if we've messed up in the past, even if we feel like we aren't strong enough or ready. In Exodus 3, it's the story of the burning bush, and God calls Moses over, and he's like, "Hey, Moses, you should go to Pharaoh and tell him, please let my people go." And Moses is like, "No way, God, like, I'm not ready for that. I can't speak in front of people." And God's like, "No, like, I have put you here. This is your purpose. Please go do this for me." Well, I don't know if he said please, but sounds nice. Anyways, so even when we're like Moses and asking God, "Why are you choosing me? You know I'm not ready. You know I'm not strong enough." Isaiah 43:7 says, Everyone is called by my name, who I have created for my glory, even whom I've made. We are all called to follow his plan. And his plan for us is to glorify him. That's the bottom line. If you do nothing else with your life but love Christ and show him to others, you've already exceeded his expectations. So God has a plan better than we could ever imagine. And once we submit ourselves to him, his power is shown through us, and he gets all the glory. He should get all the glory. He is glorified through us. So we just need to pray consistently, not 2 minutes a day. Check for me. Then we need to surrender the little things, the big things, our life. And we need to become humble and broken in our self-will, knowing that we can't do anything on our own. We rely on Christ alone. So just trust him and let his power and love guide you through each day. Just know that even when it feels like he doesn't have a plan for your life, or you have no clue what his plan is, he's still working in you. He's working in you every single second. So, that's it. We're going to move into a time of reflection. And this time is just going to be silent prayer. We've been doing a lot of praying tonight, which I think is really awesome because anyways, God works great. So we're going to just take some time in silent prayer and think about maybe something that you feel like you need to surrender, something that maybe is holding you back from what God is calling you to do. It may be something or someone. And I would just encourage you to kind of think on that and try to surrender it to him. It's not an easy process. And then if you feel like you have no clue where he's calling you, just pray about the future. Pray that he would give you assurance and peace wherever he's calling you.